Could it be, and it's even suggested, that there are three distinct awarenesses that come unbidden along the way? These can even be called gifts, or siddhis as they're called. Let's see if three simple stories will evoke in us a confirmation of what these gifts are. The first is that story about the seeker after enlightenment who tried all different ways. He read the books and went to different masters, but there was still something missing in his life. But then he heard that there was a man who was called the teacher of the age. So he decided that he would make the journey to him. And along the way, being the seeker that he had been and having become what he believed himself to be as a spiritual man, he had undertaken the practices and learned the mantras, etc., etc., considered himself quite enlightened to a degree. But as he was on his way, the devil in him, unseen of course, tried to tempt him, seduce him on the path. But he was resolute. He said to this demon, "I am a good man and I am on my quest for the teacher of the age to attain enlightenment." So he eventually, after some adventures, came to the abode of the said great teacher of the age. But when he walked into the meeting room, the master was not sitting on a dais with robes. He did not have a presence, an aura about him of saintliness. But the seeker made the necessary obeisances and joined the circle. But as the moments passed, he became more and more disillusioned, because here was this master. He wasn't even speaking about spiritual things. He was just talking about day-to-day things. In fact, he was smoking a hubble-bubble pipe, just acting like what seemed to be an ordinary man, having conversations with people. So, but of course, the master, being who he was completely aware of this young being and where he was at. And as it happened, when he came to the door of the abode of the master, of course, that devil in him could not enter that abode, so the devil was left outside. But after a very short while, when the young man became completely and totally disillusioned and could not wait to leave this place, thinking he'd made a terrible, terrible mistake, he got up and said his farewells and left the abode. But at that moment, the master stood up and came out to the door of his home. And as the young seeker was leaving, and the devil was able to take its place in him again, the master said to the demon, who he had been well aware of, "You see, he actually belonged to you all along." And then there's the story about a man called Hariri. He was a very pious man. He undertook all the practices of the faith of the day and was well known around town as being a Puritan of some kind. So it so happened that a very rich merchant of that town, who was leaving to go on a journey, decided that Hariri was just the man that he should leave his beautiful servant with, having no fear that she would come to harm. So, taking the beautiful servant to Hariri, leaving her in his care, the merchant went off with great faith. But it so happened that Hariri was besotted with this beautiful maiden. So he was forced, in fact, he decided that he had to go to his Sufi master and find out what he could do. So he went to his Sufi master, and his Sufi master said, "Go to Al-Arabi." But when Hariri went off to seek out this Al-Arabi, everyone told him, "Oh, don't go to him, he's heretic. He's a bad man." But Hariri, having been told by his Sufi master to go, he went. And sure enough, when he got to the door of the abode, he found that indeed there was the man he was seeking, sitting with a young boy on his knee, with the hubble-bubble pipe beside him and a flask that seemed to have alcohol in it. So Hariri asked, "What is the meaning of this?" And of course the response was from this man of knowing and insight, "I appear this way so that rich merchants will not leave their beautiful servants with me to take care of." And then there's a story of Latif the thief. Now, Latif the thief was indeed what we could say somewhat like our Nasruddin. He was a mystical rogue. So Latif the thief one day was able to capture the chief of the police and bring him to his cave. And he said to this chief of police, "I am going to tell you something that you will never forget." And so he made the chief of police strip off all his clothes, and he made him sit astride his horse backwards. And then he said to the chief of police, "I am going to send you into town with the words that you will not forget." The chief of police said, "You might be able to embarrass me, but you can never tell me something that I don't want my mind to remember." And so Latif the thief said, "The words that you will not forget are, I will have revenge on Latif the thief if it takes the rest of my life." So these three gifts coming unbidden and speaking from one's own experience, let's see if they are parallel with what arises in you. The first is that no one can hide their true hearts from us. We can tell when someone is speaking not from that place, when their heart and their mouth don't jibe, as Divine Mother used to say. And the second gift is the gift of not taking anything by appearance. recognizing that nothing is what it seems in the sensory sense. And the third is the recognition that everything we do and everything we say has power, making us forever careful to be present, non-reactive, staying in that place where all is in alignment, knowing that our actions and our words come from a power that is beyond a self. How does this jibe with you? What do you recognize as these awarenesses, unbidden, that have arrived along the way? What do these stories evoke in you? The gifts, the cities that come along the way, are they clear for you now? No one can hide their heart from us. No one can fool us with appearances. And resting as we do, present, intensely present, alert, aware. Knowing that every deed and every word is coming from a place of non-judgment, non-conditioning, no self, and has a power that no one can forget. Are these gifts that you recognize in you?